Hey guys, welcome to episode 26 of the Fiberista Files. Today is Sunday, March 7th, I think. Well, last week I talked a lot about the fact that I was in the dye pots, and they're all dyed and dried and ready to show you off. So I thought I'd go over real quick what's in the shop now. I made the decision to put up what I've dyed in the shop before show season, even though I expect this to be show inventory, for a couple of reasons. One, I still have a lot more inventory to buy, so the more I sell now, the more inventory I have, the more money I have to buy inventory later, as well as it's a lot of work through Etsy to put the listings up and get the things written and get the photos done and do all that. I have time now. Doing it all after a show when I'm burnt out and tired is quite frankly not going to happen. I found that to be the case last year. So I'm putting it all in the shop now. This also gives me kind of a sneak peek too, I guess, into what people want. So what is popular. So I do it now. It's in the shop. If you see anything you like, go ahead and buy it. Don't feel bad at all. So I did a lot of Falkland, and Falkland is a really soft, fun to work with fiber. It feels to me a lot like Polwarth. If I have two undyed braids, I have a hard time telling them apart. It's not quite as soft as Polwarth, but almost not noticeable difference to the touch. And the Falkland sheep were developed on the Falkland Islands, so that's why they're called Falkland. This is Rebaño. You can't see, of course, this looks green, but it's rusty brown and gray and undyed areas of white. Rebaño is Spanish for flock. This is Mount Katahdin, that is green and gray and undyed areas of that. Again, this is all Falkland. I have Blue Skies and Buttercups, which is one of those fibers it is impossible to be unhappy when playing with this fiber. And this, I don't know if you can see how much smush this stuff has. I don't braid my fibers as tightly as a lot of sellers like on Etsy and stuff do, and I think maybe my pictures aren't as pretty as some of the other sellers because they've got those braids that just go and go and go. But I braid mine really loosely so that you can smush them and you get an idea of what the fiber feels like. I do sometimes rebraid them to ship them and make sure they don't get damaged, but my goal is to make the in-person experience fantastic, so they are braided a little bit more loosely. I also, in Falkland, did Acadia. Now, Acadia is the name of our most famous national park here in Maine. And Acadia is green and gray, some really soft pinks, and some pops of blue up there as well. It's kind of a speckly braid, but when you braid that, when you spin this and the colors all blend together, oh, so pretty. I love Acadia. I love this fiber. I just want to love it. I also did up a bunch of Superwash Merino Tencel, and Superwash Merino Tencel is one of those fibers that is kind of a pain to work with, honestly. The fibers are very slippery. That Tencel acts a lot like silk, but I think is even slipperier than silk. And when they're wet, the fibers just want to pull apart. So you have to be really careful when you work with it when you're dyeing, because if you break a braid, it doesn't mean anything to the fiber, but it doesn't look as good. It's more difficult to braid out, so I try really hard not to break the braids. This is Thor's hammer. My friend Tina bought 2 of these already, so this is actually the last one of these I have. I'm going to do more. In fact, I think I'm going to buy like 10 pounds worth of Superwash Merino Tencel, because as soon as I get it in the shop, it's gone. I also have Poetic here somewhere. Poetic is one of my favorites. Aha, here's Poetic, which is sort of a twin to Thor's hammer. It's black and gray, but they both come out sort of charcoal and silver because of the way the Tencel takes the dye. And then this one is a bright purple violet, whereas the other one is like a brick kind of blood red. So I don't care about your problems. Tina bought 2 of these too, so the Superwash Merino Tencel is actually all gone for the Poetic, so I'm going to be dyeing some more up. The other colorway I dyed up in the Superwash Merino Tencel is one that I did a one-off of a long time ago, and I wasn't really sure if I liked it, so I really debated on whether or not to do it again. But what the heck, I guess. So this is Golden Fleece, and on your screen it looks probably more lemon, but it's actually like a dark gold, buttercup yellow, sort of a burnished brassy type color. The pictures in the Etsy shop show it a lot better. This used to be called Golden Fleece, and I love this colorway. Because the Superwash Merino Tencel fibers are so close together and they're so tight when you dye, that the dye doesn't always go all the way through the combed top, and I'm trying to find you an example of that. If you break it open a little bit, you're not going to be able to see that. It's lighter inside, and so when you spin it up, it has this beautiful muted blendy effect, and it looks like, oh, what was the girl's name in Rumpelstiltskin that had to spin the stuff into gold? This is like spun gold. That's why I called it Golden Fleece before. I'm calling this Goldfinch now, in fact, because I feel like this time the colors were a little bit, not orangier, but a little bit brassier than before. So I wanted to reflect that with a different name. I like the name Goldfinch better than Golden Fleece. I don't want to make people think that I think that when I dye, I dye up golden things. That's a little conceited, maybe. I also dyed up some silk. Now, I've mentioned before how I try very hard to use up all of the dyes that I'm working with. I don't like to dump them down the drain. I don't think that that's very responsible. You know, these are not things that we really want in our water supply. And Lord knows Brownville Junction probably does not have a very, you know, state-of-the-art water treatment facility. So what I'm doing now is I bought some Tussa silk, and when I have 8 or more ounces of a dye solution left over, I'm just plopping it in a pot with some silk and letting that silk absorb the color. So they're all going to be one-offs, but you would be amazed how much fiber you can get out of 2 ounces of silk. When I went to spa this past weekend, there were a lot of people selling 1 ounce things of silk, and there's nothing wrong with selling 1 ounce braids of silk, but I feel like it would be hard to find something to do with 1 ounce of silk. So I'm doing 2 ounces, which really, silk likes to be spun thin, so you could get hundreds of yards out of it, depending on how thin you spin this. This looks a lot like Poetic because it was the leftover purple and black. It's kind of that violet indigo shade between blue and purple, and it has a lot of depth of color. It's just so pretty. This is not up in the shop yet. It should be tonight. So this is seriously, this is the 2 ounce braid. 2 ounces of Tussa silk. And let's see if I can fold this up so you can get on the screen. That's how much you get. It's a lot of fiber, and silk loves to be spun thin. So that one is, I haven't named it yet. That's why it's not in the shop. I'm having a naming difficulty. And then this one is, actually know what the leftover color was. I think it was the mahogany that I had used, which is kind of a reddy, magenta-y sort of color. And again, it's got all that variegation because I did it as a semi-solid. So pretty. And this is 2 ounces, again, unnamed. As soon as I figure out what I'm naming them, they will be up in the shop. I did tell you also, I think last week, that I had finished dyeing up the lace weight. There were 2 colorways that I hadn't reskeined yet, and those are here. They still haven't been reskeined, so they're going to look a little silly, but you can at least see what colors they are and let me know if you want them, and I can always create you a reserved listing. This is the yellow. Again, it's a little bit more buttercuppery than lemony. There's the focus button. Hey, look at that. And this is the green, which has, sorry about the camera, guys. This camera has troubles in afternoon light, and it's almost 4 o'clock here, and it's raining out, so my light is really poor. I got nap attacked for 2 hours after not getting up until 9 o'clock this morning. It's ridiculous. So this is the green. This is the yellow. I actually think they go really well together. I think they ought to go home together. Again, these are dyed up in two 2 skein dye lots, so that's 2,200 yards, which is going to get you through almost any shawl or other lace project you can imagine. So they will be for sale individually, or you get one for $19.50 or both for $38. So you save like $1 if you buy them together. You just have to leave me a note in the comments or message me and I can adjust the listing. So, did I dye anything else? Not yet. I have a lot of, well, I did the Intention Yarns limited edition Intention, the next one, but I'm not going to announce the release of that until I get the rest of my extra goodies. I'm sorry, I'm off screen here. Oh, forget it. The limited edition Intention comes with some extras in the package, and I've got 2 of them. I need to get the last one mailed to me. It's coming to me from across the country, so as soon as I get that, the announcement will be made. They will be on sale. They're gorgeous. Can do a real quick guest appearance, I guess. This is what it is. Okay, that's all I'm going to show you. It's a special base even. It's a different yarn base than the traditional sock. So, in fact, it's a sport weight. So, let's see. I made my show notes on my computer today, so I didn't have to look down. Let's see where we're at. Oh, I've only done one of the bullets. That's great. Okay. I sent in last night the pictures for my instructor application for Fiber College. If I get accepted, and it is a juried process, I'll be teaching 2 classes. The first one is Absolute Beginner Spindling, and the second one is Spindle Plying Techniques. I originally had just put in a proposal for the Spindle Plying Techniques because I think that's an area that's overlooked in a lot of classes and things that you can sign up for at a lot of venues. I think people want to get you to learn how to spin on the spindle, but then they don't really talk about all of the different ways you can ply. And there's a lot of people out there that don't know how to Navajo ply, or they don't know what Andean plying is, or how to make that Andean plying bracelet thing. And so, you know, that was a need I saw. The beginner spindler class I've taught before. I taught it at Fibermania last year, and it was very popular, but I didn't expect to have a chance, honestly, to teach it at Fiber College, because I know last year several people taught beginner spindling in some variation, or beginner spinning at least. But the woman who organizes it, when I sent in my first proposal, said, hey, are you willing to teach any other spindle classes, because nobody has sent in any proposals. Now, I don't care about your problems. Tough. That may have changed, and I may not be selected to do that. And that's fine. You know, if somebody's been teaching it for 20 years, I would hope that they would teach it over me, but we'll see, I guess. The deadline for that is March 9th, so I don't know when the announcement will be. Once the announcement for teachers is posted for instructors, I will absolutely link that in the show notes so you can see it, because Fiber College, if you've never been, you need to go. It's awesome. So much learning going on. And it's on the beautiful coast of Maine, campground, Searsport Shores. So beautiful. Let's see. I was doing some work on my website the other day. I was adding some spam filters and things to my site, and I noticed that my hosting fees are due at the end of March, the end of this month. It costs $120 to host each year to host my 2 sites, the FiberristaFiles.com and HighlandHandmaids.com. I forgot about the need to renew my fees, so I'm a little strapped right now for cash, which is, I mean, I can do it, it's fine, but again, that's one of the reasons my stuff is up in the shop now, to help me pay for those costs and still get some inventory for the shows. But I do have a donate button on my blog. It's over here, down underneath a little bit. It's a little donate button, and you can go, it takes you straight to PayPal, and you can donate to the show. If you have found the show helpful in any way, if you enjoy the show, and you want to support the Fiberista Files, please consider donating. It will go straight to hosting fees, things like that for the show. I'd like to get a better camera at some point. If you donate $25 or more, you'll get a Highland Handmaids t-shirt. Is that forward? Yeah, it is. There we go. Oh, focus. No, come back. Focus. It's got a little tree, and it will probably be a little bit lower on the shirt than this one. This was the first one we tried, but it will be a Highland Handmaids t-shirt in your choice of color of t-shirt, color of text, size, obviously. Or I also have the, I'm going to sneeze, the black Fiberista t-shirt. Here it comes. Excuse me. The black Fiberista t-shirt that just says Fiberista. If you're a guy and you like it to say Fiberisto, we can make that happen. It's a black t-shirt. You can choose your color text. Just as a thank you for donating to the podcast and for supporting what I'm trying to do here. So please consider that. Obviously, I'm going to keep doing this until I absolutely can't anymore because I love it. I love what I do. So this is going to keep going, but I just wanted to put it out there. Let's see. While I'm talking about computer stuff, I meant to mention it last week and didn't. Totally forgot. I spaced on like 4 different things last week. No wonder the episode was short. I'm now on iTunes. If you go to the iTunes store under podcasts and search the Fiberista files, I should pop up. My little icon is a yellow skein of yarn. It's a yellow skein of worsted, actually. Go ahead and add me. This updates. It should update. I think it takes a couple of hours to get there from the time I upload to Blip, and then Blip distributes everywhere else. I still will be available on iTunes, even with the longer episodes. I was notified that I am now a YouTube partner, which isn't something I tried to do at all. There was a little thing at the top of my screen one day that said, "Did you know you could upload videos longer than 15 minutes?" Question mark. Well, no, I didn't know, but thank you for letting me know. So as a YouTube partner, basically, I don't have any time limits. And Blip, when I switched to Blip, there were all of these different ways to distribute your videos. I now got the RSS feed for the iTunes. So it goes to iTunes. It goes to YouTube. It tweets it for me that there's a new episode up. It can go automatically to my blog. I tend to not do that because I put the show notes in while the show is uploading, and then I just embed the video in it that way. But it can. I mean, Blip distributes everywhere imaginable, and it could go even further. It's just those are the avenues that I use. So I am on iTunes. If you want to give me a review, great. If you want to just give me stars, great. If you don't want to do any of that, don't. I really could care whether or not I get reviews on iTunes. I don't know about you guys, but I don't look at the reviews before I watch a podcast. And friends of mine who podcast are getting 1-star ratings with no explanation, which, excuse the language, is kind of asshattery, because if you're not brave enough to say something, then don't bother to review. So go ahead and give reviews if you want. If not, no big. But I did want those people to know that who watch me through iTunes and prefer to watch me on their iPads or iPhones or whatever, that they can do that now, and they can subscribe via the feed. So I'm on iTunes. I love Blip. I'm so happy with it. In Intention Yarns news, I did mention the new limited edition colorway that will be coming out soon. I'm just about ready to wrap up the availability of Focus. So if you've been looking at Focus and you really want a skein of that colorway, you ought to jump on that. I haven't announced it yet, but that's going away just as soon as I launch the new one. So probably you'll have another week or so, and then I'll do the announcement. I'll probably announce it sometime next week, honestly. So you'll have about a week and a half to buy a skein of Focus if that was the skein that you wanted. So I'll link the shop in the show notes, Intention Yarns, and Focus colorway if you want to go grab it. IY is going to be hosting a blog train, which is kind of a neat concept that I had never heard of before, but I did a little research. And I was looking online for a way to showcase my customers and what they had done, and not just on Ravelry, but on the internet as a whole. I really like to see what you guys are doing with the yarns that you have, and I think Intention Yarns is a great way to showcase our customers. So the blog train is sort of explained on the blog. It's intentionyarns.com/reveal, which again is in the show notes. Go there and read up. If you have a skein of Intention Yarns that either you have started to knit up or you just want to knit up, you haven't gotten there yet, but you know what you want to do for a project, please participate in the train. Join us, and what we'll do is on a specific day, next Saturday, March 12th, we are going to I will have everybody's blogs written underneath, and they'll all be hyperlinked. So if somebody comes to the Intention Yarns blog and reads what I'm doing with Intention Yarns, Then they can go to the next person on the list, go to their blog, read what they're doing. The links are underneath there too, so then they go on to the next blog, and just like a train, it goes all the way along. Everybody who's got a skein of intention yarns and is going to be intentioning with it. So it's a really, really neat concept. It gets more readers to your blog. It's a great way to show off what you guys are doing instead of just me talking all the time. So join, do it, do the blog train. It's going to be a good thing. Oh, now I'm selling Martha Stewart. Let's see. I don't have any podcasts to review this week. I do have a book I wanted to share. I last year talked about the book Farmer Brown cards his wool. Farmer Brown, I forget what it is. Farmer Brown does something with his wool, and it goes on about how all the things that he does, and then he combs the wool and gets it spun and gets it dyed and eventually he gets the yarn back and he knits it up into sweaters for his sheep. This book was left for me in my school mailbox on Friday with a little note attached to it that said, "This book made me think of you." It's called Woolber. It is by Leslie Helikowski and it's illustrated by Lee Harper. And it's this so cute little kid's book, real thin book. It's also my two friends really. One, it shows clearly the process of wool preparation and use, which I love, and I'll show you some of the pictures in just a second. But it also celebrates a wool lover's habit of doing things a little bit differently. And I think that there is still a lot of social stigma attached to fiber crafting, and I love that books like this exist to help, not mainstream it because it's not mainstream that I care about, but definitely help celebrate the unique nature of people who do things a little bit different. It starts with poor Woolber, who's had a little trouble with the herd today because instead of staying still with the sheep, he went and ran with the dogs. And throughout all of it, every time somebody's upset about something Woolber does, he says, "I know, isn't it great?" So he, after he's done running with the dogs, he has a little trouble at the shearing barn today because he didn't want to get his wool sheared. He wanted to be all long and soft. And he says, "I know, isn't it great?" Then he has trouble carding his wool. Here's all the little sheep carding the wool with hand cards, which totally realistic. He decides to card himself. Look at him, isn't he adorable? He says, "No more tangles." Eventually, he gets to the point where he spins up. And so he spins himself his own little locks. You can see that the lock comes down and goes into the spinning wheel. That's probably the least realistic picture of all of them. But, "Your yarn is all loopy," said Ma. "I know," said Woolber. "Isn't it great?" Of course, after he spins the wool into yarn, he dyes it. And you can't see here on the tubs, but he's got woad and indigo and all kinds of like natural dyeing materials. Like the author of this book and the illustrator worked together to really make a very realistic visualization of what it is to work with wool. This one especially, this is when they're weaving, and you can see on the board it says warp threads, weft threads, shuttle. They have yarn and cones right here. There are all these pictures. There's a picture of a spinning wheel on the side. And then here's Woolber weaving his forelock into this loom. I mean, this is obviously a very basic loom, but it's pretty cool. There's a poster over here that shows the structure of knit stitches, and then this is like a little, these are little balls of yarn. I just love the illustrations in this book so hard. So then he's sitting there and he's got this huge, woven forelock, and everybody's all upset. And his grandfather, who's apparently a hippie, tells his parents not to worry. Eventually, Woolber is told that he will stay with the herd like everyone else. He will shear wool, card wool, spin wool, dye wool, weave wool, just like everyone else. Best picture ever. This is what happens when you make your little wool lovers not make them stop doing what they love. Here's poor Woolber, all sad. "Oh," said Woolber. "Isn't he just sad?" But all is not lost. They may say do things like everybody else, but Woolber decides to make everybody else be just like him. And here he is teaching the sheep to run with the dogs. He teaches them to card their own wool. He teaches them to play, to spin crazy yarn, to experiment with color, and to weave their forelocks. So then his parents are like, how will we know where Wilbur is? And again, Grandpa says, don't worry. And here he is doing something weird with wool again. He's not knitting. I have no idea what it is he's doing. Maybe somebody can show me. That's a wool craft I've never seen. They look like giant needles. And he has all these little strands. And the yarn is actually tied to the end of the needle. I don't know what that's supposed to be. But this book, Wilbur, is a must-have. If you have kids, if you know kids, read this book. Go to your local library and just read this book to kids at story time. More books like this need to be done. So, again, that's by Leslie Helikowski. If I can link this in Amazon, I will. I haven't tried yet, but I got this through the Scholastic Publishing Company. So, that's all I had in my notes this week. I don't know how much dyeing I'll get done this week. It's work week. I'm in March, which is the single worst month in education at all because the kids can't go outside. They can't. Winter sports are done. Spring sports haven't begun. There's snow on the ground. It's cold. The weather is really unpredictable in March in Maine. Maine has a saying that is, if you don't like the weather, wait a minute. And that's very true. Friday morning, it was 14 below zero when I got up. That was not counting wind chill. It was negative 14 degrees when I got out of bed. Saturday morning, it was in the 40s when I got up, and it's been raining all weekend. It's been really warm. It's supposed to go back to cold and snowy and rainy tomorrow. An icy, sleety mix. So Maine weather is awful, and the kids have no school vacations. There's no days off. There's no long weekends. There's no breaks, and it starts to wear on everybody. So I come home exhausted a lot just from trying to crowd control during the day. So hopefully I'll get some time to dye. I have a butt-ton, technical term, of superwash BFL that needs to be dyed up. So I would like to get that done soon. I have a bunch of colorways that need to be done. I've got a lot to do. So maybe I'll be able to carve some time out to do that. I guess you'll have to wait and see next week what I accomplish. So until next week, guys, happy spinning and knitting. Thanks for tuning in.